So let's get on with the tank build. So I started off by adding in some Sirius stone. I wanted to make quite a few caves and sort of territories for the fish, and I just used again some plain sort of river sand mixed in with some white sand, and I was happy with the look. And once I filled up the tank. This tank is an Oase Styleline 125 for those of you that are wondering, and even though it was murky, here it is planted up, and I was already really happy with how it was looking. Nice big cave there on the left and a couple of smaller caves sort of in the middle and on the right. Lots of territories for the fish I'm planning to put in. So here it is a couple of weeks later, after I'd added some established filter media and some bottled bacteria. Now you're looking at a small Brichardi. Now for those of you that watched my most recent video on setting up my Brichardi tank, that is the tank actually next door to this one. You will remember I mentioned I had a Brichardi that was getting beaten up, and that is the guy you just saw. So that's why his fins were a bit ripped. And the other fish in this tank are Julidochromis and a group of Leleupi, Neolamprologus Leleupi to be specific. Now these guys are all pretty well behaved. The Julidochromis, especially as far as I'm aware from my research, are known for being quite peaceful. Leleupi can get a bit more aggressive when breeding, and this is something I'm definitely going to look out for in the future. But at this point, some of the stem plants towards the back of the tank has started to grow in, and I was really liking the look. The tank is minimally planted. Again, this isn't a biotope. If I was to make a biotope tank, these fish are all from Lake Tanganyikan in Africa, and there's not much vegetation in the water, so it would really just be rocks, piles of rocks and sand. And I just like to add plants into my scapes. It's good for the water quality, looks nice. The plants help pull nitrates from the water, which is always a good thing. Now here you can see a Julidochromis in his cave and a much smaller Leleupi just sort of swimming near the entrance. Now these guys are pretty well behaved and get along pretty well. As you can see there, he does give him a little sort of chase away from his little cave. It's something I need to look out for again, because the Julidochromis are older. If they pair off and start breeding, I will relocate them. I've got many tanks, and I'm planning on a much bigger Tanganyikan community tank in the future. But there's never any damage done, there's no ripped fins, it's just sort of a quick chase, or you get out of my house kind of deal. And annoyingly, even some of the fish even made home underneath the filter. So I made all these wicked caves and things like that, and this back corner underneath the filter has actually become quite prime real estate, with some of the fish digging out a sort of pit of sand. And yeah, I mean, it's a bit frustrating because I spent so much time aquascaping the tank, but hey, they're happy, I'm happy. Now this shot right here, this is actually an older Leleupi. I'll talk to you later on actually how I got a hold of these fish and why some of them are older and younger. And I do keep a close eye on how they're all sort of getting on, and they're getting along very well. This is a decent sized tank with lots of territories, and most of the fish are still juveniles. Like I said, I am planning a larger Tanganyikan community tank, which I will soon enough be moving quite a few of these fish into. My plan long term for this tank is to really just hold Leleupi in this tank. I think they're stunning. I love the yellow colours to them. Again, the black background, similar to my last video on the Brichardi tank. If you haven't seen that, go give it a watch. I think the black background really works well with this tank. The sand, the white sand pops, the yellow colour on the fish pops, and looks really beautiful. And here's a shot of the two tanks side by side, and it was quite a cool comparison. You know, I wanted grey rock in one and white rock in the other. Now here's the tank just over a month after being set up, and I did start to get some diatoms, but the diatom bloom went away as quickly as it came. If you start getting lots of brown algae in a relatively new setup, in my opinion, it's nothing to worry about too much. If you want to do water changes and clean the glass, that'll definitely speed things along, but the diatoms are just using up silicates and things that are sort of released from the rock and sand that you've just put into the tank. and again, it's nothing to worry about too much. Now here's a little clip of me giving them some food. Now as you can see, they've been in the tank sort of over a month at this point, and they're not scared of me at all, and it's really good to see. They sort of dart around for the food, might do a little chase of one another, but I mean, no one's harmed in the process at all. These guys are from Lake Tanganyikan in Africa, so they come from an area that has relatively hard water. So luckily the water straight out of my tap where I live is relatively hard, so high GH, high KH. If you come from a softer water area, you might want to consider adding some sort of thing to up the hardness of your water, something like aragonite or crushed coral. Now, I really enjoy these fish. The two sort of fish that got me into Lake Tanganyikan fish as a whole were the Brichardi and the Leleupi. The Leleupi for their stunning yellow colours, and the Brichardi for their amazing fins. Now, if you're interested in Tanganyikan fish, and I'm assuming you are since you've clicked on this video, you will know that they're really underrepresented in this hobby. They're quite rare fish, they're not spoken about very often, and they're commonly overlooked. So I really wanted to sort of dedicate these two tanks upstairs in the sort of fish gallery to Lake Tanganyikan fish. I think they're beautiful, very interesting colours, not ridiculously hard to look after. You just have to have done your research and know what you're doing, and they don't get massive, you know. So the Julidochromis you're seeing on screen are fully grown at about sort of 4 inches long. Now, as I mentioned earlier on in this video, these fish aren't super popular, and I don't know why. I think they should be way more popular than what they are. Their personality is amazing and their colours are stunning. You know, so these are a fish that I think deserve a lot more love. But because the fact that they're not very popular, they're quite hard to track down. So I live here in the UK and managed to track down Brichardi and Leleupi in sort of local fish shops. But the Julidochromis, I couldn't find any nearby at all, and luckily I found a local hobbyist that was selling some Julidochromis, and he also ended up offering me a older Leleupi. Now of course I wanted this tank to be mainly Leleupi, so I jumped at the opportunity. So that's why those fish are older, and it's just something to bear in mind if you're trying to get these fish. They're not super easy to track down. I really like this cereal stone I used in this scape. As you can see, this is now after a month of the tank being set up. You can see the fish really do use it. They like to hide in it. Here's a Julidochromis just hiding in the rock. And if you want to get your own, head down to your local fish shop. Huge shout out to my local fish shop, Maidenhead Aquatics in Ashtead here in the UK. Big shout out to you guys. Here's a quick little clip of me watching my fish tanks. Now, as awkward as this was for me to film, it really is just there to serve as a reminder that no matter what fish tank you've got, no matter what state it's in, no matter what point in the hobby you are, it is that you should sit down and watch it and enjoy it for what it is. All too often you get caught up in changing things, wanting to look at the next thing, but you know, really sit down and just watch the tank, and I think you'll find it really relaxing, and it's something I've been trying to do more often in recent times. Okay guys, so that brings us to the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment, let us know your experience with Tanganyikan fish. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and take care. Thank you.